What happens when the most powerful man in the world believes he's a god and insists on proving it by fighting in the Colosseum? This isn't fiction. This is the story of Commodus, the Roman emperor who traded a crown for a wooden sword and dragged an empire into madness. Let's take a look at one of the most unbelievable rulers in history. Commodus was born in 161 CE, the son of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected leaders in Roman history. But Commodus wasn't like his father. Where Marcus was a philosopher king, Commodus was obsessed with spectacle. He was made co-emperor at just 15 years old, and when Marcus died, Commodus became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire. He inherited power at its peak, and then, almost immediately, started tearing it apart. At first, Commodus ruled like any other young emperor, relying on advisors, military generals, and the Senate. But something changed. He began seeing himself not just as a ruler, but as a god. He renamed Rome Colonia Commodiana, the colony of Commodus. Statues were erected of him dressed as Hercules, club in hand and lion skin draped over his shoulders. He believed he was Hercules reborn, destined to conquer through brute strength, not diplomacy. And to prove it, he needed an arena. In a shocking break from imperial dignity, Commodus began fighting as a gladiator in the Colosseum. This wasn't ceremonial. He entered the arena in front of tens of thousands of Roman citizens, not in armor, but dressed like a demigod. He fought wild animals. He challenged gladiators. He used a wooden sword so he wouldn't be harmed. But his opponents weren't so lucky. The fights were rigged, of course. No one dared to actually hurt the emperor. But Commodus treated every staged victory like divine proof of his greatness. Sometimes, he even charged the Roman treasury a massive fee for each appearance, 1,000,000 sesterces per fight, bankrupting the empire for his vanity. Commodus didn't just fight in the arena. He turned Rome into a stage for his delusions. He renamed the months of the calendar after his titles. He renamed the legions, the ships, even the gods, all after himself. He ordered statues of himself placed in temples, demanded worship from his subjects, and declared himself the conqueror of 1,000 gladiators. The Senate, powerless and humiliated, tried to maintain the illusion of order, but Rome was unraveling. Meanwhile, the people of Rome, many of them poor and hungry, were forced to cheer for the emperor in his self-glorifying battles. To boo was treason. Behind the spectacle was a reign of paranoia and brutality. Commodus executed senators, generals, and former friends. He banished his sister for suspected treason. He surrounded himself with sycophants and allowed corrupt advisors to run the empire while he trained for more arena battles. One of his most infamous displays came when he slaughtered 100 lions in a single day, from the safety of a balcony. Another time, he executed a man with a club to mimic Hercules' legendary kills. It wasn't a battle. It was a show of dominance, a message that he decided who lived or died. Rome, once the center of reason and law, had become a circus ruled by a madman in costume. By 192 CE, Commodus had declared himself both consul and gladiator champion. He planned to celebrate the new year dressed as a gladiator and to rule as both god and emperor forever. But not everyone was willing to let that happen. His inner circle, including his mistress, his wrestling coach, and the city's top officials, began plotting. Rome was teetering, and Commodus was a danger to everyone, including himself. On December 31st, 192 CE, they made their move. After poisoning his food failed, they sent in a wrestler named Narcissus, who strangled the emperor in his bath. The god emperor died not in battle, but naked, betrayed, and alone. Rome rejoiced. The Senate declared Commodus a public enemy. destroyed his statues, and tried to erase his name from history. But they couldn't erase the story. The tale of an emperor who fancied himself a god, who fought fake battles while the empire burned, has echoed through time, as a warning of what happens when delusion meets absolute power. Centuries later, his story inspired films, books, and legends, including the movie Gladiator. But the truth, the real story of Commodus, is even stranger than fiction. Because in the Roman Empire, sometimes the most dangerous man wasn't a barbarian at the gates. It was the emperor in the arena,